Hello, my fabulous humans. Welcome to Male Say. This is a space where I speak to men about all things that affect men. My name is Makabelo Motaung, also known as Coach KB by some of you. I'm a social and dating coach and a host for this feature. And my guest today is hey, how do I pronounce your name without your name without Tshilidzi? Tshilidzi. I feel like I need to be vendor with this one.
Yeah, no,
Hi,
definitely.
Tshilidzi.
Yeah, no, it's Tshilidzi. Um,
Tshilidzi.
yeah, the
Oh,
surname.
that's Tshilidzi.
Yeah, the surname is Radali. Yeah, so for you to better be able to pronounce it, you must have some few session of eating, raw mupani worms. Maybe you might get it right.
This is the thing. I
Yeah,
don't like Upapani words. That's why I'm not mastering Chilutzi.
yeah. No. So yeah, no, it's Tshilidzi Radali. But in my field of practice, affectionately known as Coach TC.
Coach
Basically, it's
TC.
people who find it difficult to pronounce Tshilidzi. So yeah, they just take my initials, which is TC, and then yeah, they call me that, and that's basically where also my practice name came from, the coach. So from the TC, we had then had the coach. So it's Tshilidzi, the coach, Radari. Yeah, I'm a life coach and NLP practitioner. Yeah, I focus on specific topics when I do my practice, but however, holistically, I do coach people on life issues. But my four most strong points, I would say, it's focused on effective parenting, which
Mm-hmm.
is basically focusing on the men and their relationship to their daughters, and also the women, their relationship with their sons. Because basically, when we talk of parenting, normally, naturally, we just think fathers, they do well with their sons, and then mothers with their daughters. So just to bring that cross functional element of parenting. So that is my first point of coaching that I focus on. Also
Okay.
focusing on relationship coaching, which I believe is the reason why I'm here today. I do relationship coaching from all the way when we want to start a relationship, taking it to the next level, and also the marriage coaching of it. So I do focus on that as well. The third element is the change management, basically in a corporate level. When organizations are going through change, we normally, neglect the element of the people aspect of change. How change affects our. I always call them the soft skill. Where when change is happening, we always neglect how the people adjusting to the change. So my coaching also gets into that space, allow
Mm-hmm.
people to be coached, into the change, and also see the benefit of the change, and still keep them, effective and productive in the corporate space. And the last one is just basically the youth change coaching, which focuses on personal development from your identity, your purpose, finding your purpose and your values. So that's basically what I do with coaching, but also other issues of life that needs coaching. Coach TC, it's there to assist. Over and above, I saw yesterday you had my friend Tabiso. I also do train people to become life coaches, but I don't do it on a individual level. I always assist in Coach Tabiso's academy. So there will be time where you might bump into me there, training other people to become coaches, because we come from a history where both of us were serving under one academy before Coach Tabiso had his own, and I also do my own coaching on the side. So basically, that's me.
Okay. No, that's a mouthful. Where are you based?
For now, I'm based in Gauteng, in the west of Johannesburg, which is Reinsach, the Roodepoort side. So that's where I'm based currently.
Oh, okay. I thought
In
it's
terms of
somewhere in
coaching,
Venda.
no, but in terms of coaching takes you anywhere. Where the client
Mm.
needs you. I'm definitely am able to reach where the client is, but I'm based in the Reinsach side of Joburg.
Hmm. So today, actually, we're talking about men and anger issues, basically unmasking, as my subject there says, unmasking men in anger. And the reason why I wanted us to talk about this was because I think the way that we relate in terms of anger is different. Look, overall, anger is a universal human emotion.
Yes.
meaning we all feel anger. It's not specifically men only who feel, the anger. But I'm interested in how is it that we get angry so differently? I mean, is there a difference between how men get angry and how women get angry?
A very interesting topic. I looked at it yesterday to say anger and why are we now focusing on it and directing it now to this species, to this gender called men. And I
Yeah.
realized that there has to be a reason behind it why we want to focus on the anger that is now from the man point of view. And without any shadow of doubt, from our cultures, especially as Africans, or I would say as South African, we cannot shy away from the fact that as men, there are certain elements that when we are being brought up, there are things that are being said. And I'm also trying to say this from a life coach point of view. When a
Mm,
child is born, is being raised, things that happens around them, they shape the person that they become later in life, right? So the same with things that are said when one is growing up. I'm one of those men who, when growing up, you would be told that if you are playing rough and you get injured, or one of your peers happen to be stronger than you, ushapeka clap anyana, and you want to express your pain through crying, for example, you will be told, no, munahali, indo daikali, men cannot just
mm,
easily show off those kind of feelings, and but as time goes, this is the very same thing that helps you now to start suppressing feelings. You start now mastering the art of suppressing your feelings. So anger also becomes one of those feelings, one of those emotions that as men we tend to suppress it, because
mm,
now I'm remembering the same statement that was said, that if I easily cry, if I easily express certain feelings and emotions, it would maybe make me less of a man. Ngoba bathi indoda
mm,
ayikhali,
mm.
in venda semunahalili, and you wanna remain
Bathi
in that.
indoda ayikhali but indoda iyakwata. I just find that expression to be you don't cry but then we compensate that lack of crying with something. And unfortunately we compensate it with anger. If you don't cry, then you know where
Automatically,
mm,
it's just a natural thing. If you are not expressing a specific feeling, it will find a way of expressing itself, because the
mm,
more I'm suppressing it, the one interesting analogy I saw once on social media was this gentleman who had two bottles of Coke, and
mm,
and and he shook one of them and said, this is like how men bottles up other feelings like anger. He
mm,
shook both the bottles, and then he opened the other one, and after some time, after he left it to settle down, and then he opened it, and he was trying to show that when one is angry, it's always advisable to allow the feeling to suppress and then
mm,
talk about how you feel. And then, as
mm,
compared to the other bottle that was shook and immediately it was opened, and you realize that the reason is because we allow certain emotions, certain feelings to bottle up. And by the time they are opened, they don't flow easily. They just erupt. It's like, boom. And that's exactly what we do. So the feeling of anger, it cannot be suppressed and then we expect it to disappear. It doesn't disappear. It will find a way
mm,
of showing up. So even crying, if I don't cry, I don't talk about how I feel, it will find a way. So in the
mm,
daikali yakwata, it would make sense, that statement to say,
mm,
by not
mm,
crying, then it turns into anger.
And the way that we even look, we feel anger probably the same, but the way that we express it is also very different. Women
Yes.
express anger in a lot of things, but often it's not physical because we don't even have the capacity to be physical. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Men express anger and they have the impulsiveness to just hit or fight and be abusive. And this is where we are possibly handling this anger differently between men and women. Why does it have to result in the physicality of it? Uh, we get angry. We bottle things up as well. We get angry. Funny enough, the world is getting more tougher on women. Women are not allowed to be as fragile as they could be. you go to the corporate and wherever, you must lead in a manly way, in a masculine way,
Yeah.
you know. So the world is also changing us. We are not as vulnerable and emotional as we would like to be, because the world has made it such an unsafe place to be vulnerable. You know, if you are vulnerable, then it doesn't look like you've got leadership qualities. If you're vulnerable, your kids, you know, you're trying to be strong for the kids, and you know.
Yeah.
So I think we also now getting into that habit of bottling up as women. But my concern is that we express it differently. Men tend to want to physically hit, and this is where I think we are different. Would you say the same thing? Like, does
So
anger for a man turn into, can a man, is a man capable of being angry and not turning it into a physical thing?
now you put it in a more a specific way and easy to explain. So
Okay.
anger, because at the end of the day, we are all human before we are men and women. We are defined as human beings before we can say it's a woman, it's a man. So the only way that will assist one to deal with anger is emotional maturity. You know, when one has that maturity to understand that the way I want to express a specific feeling, whether it be anger, it be love, whether it be whatever feeling or emotion that is there, before
Mm,
one wants to express it, one would want to put themselves in the receiver's end to say, if I was the one receiving this kind of reaction from someone,
mm,
how would that treat me? And it's unfortunate
mm,
that not everyone has that level of maturity. So I would say for men, yes, it does happen that a man can be able to deal with his anger as
mm,
compared to what the world would expect you to do. Um, Personally, that's where I would put myself in. When I'm angry, instead of me, exploding, hitting things, and all that, I normally would now keep quiet, and that's where now the three types of anger would come in. We have what we call the passive aggression. The passive aggression is basically where people it comes from wanting to be in control. When
mm,
you're angry, you want to be in control. Now, you are passive in a sense that what you do, you lose patience. You are not
mm,
patient with anyone or anything. If things are not going your way, you're not patient with them. And then now you end up now doing what? Doing things that are not acceptable because you have lost that patience, accepting that things will not always go your way. So
mm,
so so that is the foundation. It starts there. Then you've got the open one, which is where most men, and I want to emphasize that not all men, but most men
mm,
fall into that, the open aggression, where they will easily hit things. They
mm,
will even verbally express it, with that rage, so that you can see that this person is angry. And in that element, that's where now the element of one thinking before they talk, it doesn't happen there on the open aggression. They talk first and then they think later.
mm,
They want to come and do damage control. Some they
mm,
go and of they bully. Some they will even be sarcastic when they talk to you. You can tell that this person is trying to prove a point. And those are elements of the physical expression of anger. So men they are capable to can be angry and not be violent, as much
mm,
as there are women nowadays, like you just rightfully said, because of the
mm,
pressures of. We have got now women who are saying, you know what, they feel like enough is enough. I can't just express this by talking. I'm going to be violent. Maybe because of the
mm,
multiple encounters that one had that now push them to the feeling of anger. Because maybe also we kicked off in a more, upside down. One would want to understand, but what is anger? Because anger in
mm,
itself, definition, it's just a feeling of annoyance and displeasure. The moment you feel that you are annoyed by something or someone, the moment you
mm,
find displeasure in something or someone, then that is the anger. So the question
mm,
would be now, what can easily make me feel annoyed? It can be someone's behavior, it can be someone's words towards me, it can
mm,
be the displeasure from just the circumstances. And for men, I think from a point where I'm sitting as a boy child, how we were brought up, sometimes even the environment, when you are brought up in a space where you are finding the displeasure in the circumstances where you grew up, And that's where a lot
Mm-hmm.
of men hold that grudge. And going back to when I started, I spoke of the effective parenting. When a man mostly grow up, a boy child grows up without a father figure, that's another element that easily, affect this anger that we grow up with. And the most difficult part, Makabel, it's when the boy child grows up with this anger without knowing and realizing that he is angry to the fact that I'm
Mm-hmm.
growing up without my father around. Which figure would I look up to for me to can be a man that is recognized, a man that is
Mm-hmm.
considered to be, an acceptable figure in the community? So some of them, they grow up with that kind of anger that when they grow up, you just see it, popping up in different areas of their life, whether it be business, in their friendships, in how they relate with other women and all that. Only found out that this is the kind of anger that came from the upbringing, the displeasures of how this person grew up.
Mm.
So that can be. So it's possible, coming back to your question, that a man can be angry and not be violent. As
Violent.
much as
Mm.
women can be angry and be violent, and which is, against popular belief that how can a man,
Mm.
so calm about his anger?
Mm. And another thing is that, Hona in the Black community, how we were raised, I remember a lot of times we were not allowed to express anger. And by that, I mean, it would be a sign of disrespect.
Yeah,
Imagine my mom sends me to do something, and maybe in that moment I give her or whatever, and then I get angry. Otlo
yeah,
jwetswe gore wa topola molomo, like you have no right to be, why
yeah,
topola molomo, or why, or just any expression that is not that of a smile in a Black family is considered hotella, and
yeah.
that's an expression of the emotion that you're feeling. I mean, I
Yes.
could be feeling angry, but I'm not allowed to even have that expression in my face in the Black family. So
And
now I want to ask you, in in regards to that, should we be raising our kids to feel angry? Like what is acceptable, especially in the household? Are people allowed to be angry? How do we allow people to be angry? How are we okay to sit with people's angerness and just let it be there and be whatever without us making it about us? Because it's really not about us, it's about the other person, isn't it?
yes, no, it's true what you're saying, and I like the fact that you gave an example of us as the Black community, and we are not saying there's something wrong about us being Black.
Mm,
That's just what it is. But if one now has to compare how other races handle the very same situation, the freedom of expression, I would say, for you and
mm,
I, when we were growing up, it's not always advisable, or it's not really promoted where you and I are allowed to say back to my mom, to say back to my dad, or anyone who's an elder, to say whatever I feel if they are asking me a question and you want to respond back. When you respond back, it's a problem. You keep quiet, it's a
you
problem. So either way,
you
you don't know
why
what to
am
do
I?
with
It's
it.
a problem.
It's a problem either way. So you end up even asking, okay, what am I supposed to do? But one thing I
Feel.
love is that right now, in this era where we are the modern parents. I see this every day. I am a father to a very, I'm trying to find the right word, a very, this
Challenging.
daughter of mine, she doesn't seek attention, she demands it, and that is the rightful position for her as a child. And when I look at it and trying to compare with myself, that the very same right, the very same attention that I felt I needed when growing up as a child, and it was not given to me, somehow it has now driven me to certain things. And I also do a couple of reading and researches on parenting, because that's the other element that I'm coaching on. And the one element that I'm reminded of now that we're talking, it's one statement that was said by TD Jakes, to say the moment we don't give our kids the opportunity, we don't give them the attention when they talk, when they do certain things, in a way we are psychologically, depriving them and making them feel that their opinions, they don't matter, they should not respect their own opinions. When we are seated and we are quiet and the child decides to start whatever it is that is according to us out of line, what do we do as Black parents, as African parents? Hey, sit down, shut up. When even before
Mm,
we can allow this child to express what they wanted to say, right?
Mm.
And as compared now to, I would say, the white community, a child is given that freedom. They play, they say things, they climb on top of the tree, whether
They
he
get
or
angry, they
she
lash
feels
out.
we let they don't, they're given that opportunity. But
Mm.
for us, not forgetting that we give to our kids what was given to us by
To
our parents.
us, yeah.
So it's
Mm.
a generational thing, and it takes time to unlearn this thing. One must come to that level where you are conscious to say, I am choosing to be a different parent for the better. I will allow my child to speak her mind. I will allow my son to speak his mind. I will allow them to explore certain things that in my era they were regarded as taboo. I mean, you still go to an element now of kids now, how they choose careers.
Mm.
A child will come to you and say, I want to become this and that. And you're like, what in the world is that? How are you going
Mm.
to make a living out of it? Instead of you as a parent saying, okay, I hear what you're saying. Let's explore opportunities. Where will this take you? If this thing is a seasonal thing and then it ends, how will you find a backup? Those kind of things. And instead of allowing, there are some kids now who would go to school. I've coached quite a number of them, and today they are men and women. They say, I did this master's, I did this doctorate, and now I'm taking it back to my parents because I feel that what I wanted to explore in life, they wanted me to explore something. So I'm taking what they wanted back to them so that I can now start something of my own. That in itself, it tells you there's anger in it because they didn't want to
Mm.
disrespect their parents. When a parent said, go and do doctor, I want you to become a doctor, medical doctor. And this child
Mm.
has no interest in that. They just want to become something that to their
A
parents'
plumber.
eyes, it's like, wow,
You do?
what do you want to be? No, I
Mm.
want to be an artist, just want to draw people's faces and all that. Like, wow, what kind of a career is that? And so in the home environment, there is that opportunity where we can make our kids grow with anger without us even realizing. So that's coming back
Mm.
to your question. It's very much possible that a home environment can create an anger. I'm glad, I feel blessed that my daughter is that kind of a person that when she demands the attention and I don't give it to her, she cries. And for me, that crying, that's what says, okay, I am suppressing her opportunity to express herself. So let
Mm.
me go back and say, my daughter, I am sorry. And these are things that even us as parents, we feel like for us to apologize to our kids, maybe it's always have to be the one direction where it's kids who apologize to us. But there are a lot of things that we do that
That are
offend our
wrong.
kids, that gives our
Mm.
kids displeasures, that makes our kid feel annoyed by us until we make it clear to them to say, look, I am the parent here. I'm the one who decides. But after I have given you the opportunity, how many times do as parents we just decide we're buying a new house in the suburbs? We're buying a new house at some up marketplace. Do we even sit and consider our kids, how our kids feel about moving to that environment? How often do we do that? And we allow them to we expect them to be happy that no, we're moving to the suburbs. But only found that those kids are worried about going to make new friends there. Just the
Mm.
environment itself already, it's a problem. That they bottle
Mm.
up the feelings, they become angry, they don't even tell us because they know that if they're about to tell us, we're gonna explode. Who are you?
Mm.
Are you the one
Mm.
going to pay the bond? Or is it me as the partner?
Yeah.
You're even
We have
given opportunities. Yeah.
uh, interesting. We've got a comment here from Nkhono Are. The challenge that comes with raising a boy child in a household full of women. I'll admit every now and then I worry about the kind of man he will be. And will society later make him feel less of a man when he doesn't do when he does what is always known, which is to express his emotion. Is it a wrong? Do you think we view it as wrong when a man expresses his emotion? Kanali, this thing erechong, "Ay, lwena umunna man, iba strong, you'll see it, you know."
No,
We always dismiss an expressive man when he says, "Look, I don't like how you make me feel. I don't like how you're like, you're too soft, you're such a girl, you're such a, you know."
yeah, no, it's true. It's there, and I like this question because that is the reality that most men are faced with. Um, Sometimes you are being called a sissy, as a man,
Mhm.
and I ask myself, but how does me expressing my feelings makes me a sissy? Or it's simply because people are now differentiating how men deals with their emotions as compared to women, and forgetting that By nature, men are made up and to even believe that they are strong, and they think that their strength is in carrying up everything and being superior. But
Mm,
little do we forget that even as men, even Superman himself, he had a weakness. He has a weakness, which one has to come to a point where you accept and acknowledge that as much muscular as I may be, I am human first. That is why I emphasized that point when I started. We are human first before we are men and women. Meaning,
mm.
any other feeling that affects a man, it can easily affect a
It's the
woman.
same
Whatever
for a
affects a
woman.
woman, it can easily hit me. So if you
Mm,
find me crying over the fact that I'm feeling pain, it's okay. I'm human. Yes,
mm,
some men suppress their feelings because now when they go out there, they don't want to be labeled by other men to say, man, come on, men up. I hate that kind of a statement. You hear a person saying, men up. I hardly hear
mm.
a person saying, women up. They say, men up. What do you mean by men up? Does it mean I shouldn't show off my emotions? And it's unfortunate that even as much as you can shape your kids in the home environment, which is very critical, you need to bring and build that foundation so strong that even when they go out there, they're able to realize that if there is a friend in my circle who, look down on me when I express the soft feelings that are regarded to be CC, then that kind of
Mm,
a person is not good for my health. It's not good for me to keep. And that is why even me today, and I'm not saying it's a wrong thing and I'm not bragging about it, but I am very much good with that. Where if a male figure around me, I realize that, they don't help me to express my feelings. I in a very, professional way, I cut them off my cycle. And I rather be alone. If I'm said to be this kind of a man who's always at home and focusing on my family, it's okay. Because also that in the society as a man, but I feel let's about we or no, maybe this and this.
yes, when you focus on your family,
Right, we are
who's
men,
supposed to focus
we
on
are
them?
human beings first. You visit
Mm,
my home, I'm the one who's standing in the kitchen preparing for you the lunch or whatever, and you're like, "Whoa, dude, but how is it like? Why is not the woman be?" Guys, we are human first. The same feelings that I would have if I feel I'm too tired to can stand in the kitchen. Chances are, even my wife can feel tired standing in the kitchen,
mm,
especially in this era where it's no longer like how our parents grew up, where it's only the man who would wake up in the morning, go to work, and earn a living. Today we live in a world where even both of us, we leave the house same time, we come back same time. So who should be given the opportunity to measure that their tiredness? It's much
mm.
more than the other, so
More
they still,
important.
we need to
Yeah.
bring that element. And also now you can see, apart from the kids, it also now come to the very same strain would bring in relationships unnecessarily.
Mm. So, I mean, with the with the way that we've structured anger is if usa express usa bubika anger, uh, and this thing that the point that you've just made now, yeah, I'm a man, the only way it seems to prove that you're a man is through your physical strength, which is
Mm.
overpowering the woman. That's the only way to show the strength, because sometimes we provoke men and say, what kind of a man are you, what man are
Yeah,
you, meaning that we are also capable of women of twisting not even twisting, we're just capable of demanding that you to be physical. When somebody demands for you to be physical with them,
yeah,
I just find that we sometimes push unnecessarily. I
yeah,
mean, for a man to be a man, and the only way a man would know how to be a man as it stands, in the majority, is through bushaba physically.
yeah. And also not just with being physical. It's good that you brought this part, and I have heard it from. I've seen in the relationship coaching where you would sit with a lady who would say, you know what, maybe they're coming from a breakup, relationship wise, and you ask them, but what do you think made you to decide that you no longer want this relationship? And you hear a lady, you look at them dignified, and they say, no, he was just not man enough. And you ask, okay, what do you mean by man enough? Like, no, he was
Mm,
too soft. He would agree to everything I say. And you ask yourself, so what makes a man is when my wife puts an opinion on the table and I say, no, it will not work. even if I can see that it's gonna work,
It's
but
for
because
your
I'm the
advantage.
man and I wanna be the man enough, I would say no, this is not going to work without even looking at it to say how and why do you say it will work. So and
Mm,
you hear another woman really saying that to say no, he was too soft, he agrees to everything, I want a man who's this and that. And you ask yourself, but how will those muscles build a relationship? How do they
mm,
build a relationship? What helps? And of course, like you said, rightfully so, there's someone who would just intentionally provoke. Some they will even tell you, no, if he doesn't physically touch me, not in a romantic way, but where he is aggressive a little bit, I don't think that he still loves me. And they will intentionally provoke. And you ask yourself, but again, without judging, all these things, remember, they are just signs of where one comes from. So for me, whenever
mm,
somebody shows a specific behavior, I'm interested in asking their relationship. So now those kind of women who would do that, if you track their record, most of them to where they were brought up, it's either they were
mm.
brought up in an environment where they would see that happening, meaning the father figure or the male figure was being physically abusive to
Yeah.
them, or
Mm,
just basically they grew up without a father figure. Now you look at social media, you look at our media at large, that's what it shows, to say yes, there are men who are beating women. And this person, as a young girl, they grow up to feel, okay, I want to feel this thing. How does it feel to have a man showing his strength on me? And now when they have the
mm,
opposite of this man, they're like, wow, you're not man enough. You really need to have to shake me. Of course, you need to
mm,
stand your ground. Standing my ground does not mean I'm shouting at you. It does not mean I'm talking with. I can still stand my ground, talking softly to you and say, no, I don't really like you going out every Friday night. Do I have to say, grab you against the door or against the wall? I don't want you to go out on Friday. What is the difference?
mm,
The difference is that my tone has changed, but the message is the same. I don't want you going
mm.
on Friday nights, and it does not make me feel comfortable because I'm not sure of your safety when you're out there and I'm sitting here at home. Then let's talk
Yeah.
about it. Maybe you might even suggest, okay, how about we go together, my love, so that you are comfortable that I am safe. Case
Mm.
closed. But unlike that, instead, some people they push this anger.
Yeah. But I also find that, some anger doesn't belong in the moment. Um, Sometimes ulwana le motho. And then ubona from the reaction hore no, this anger is not in the right place. It's not the anger, yeah, this situation, you know.
Yeah.
Now he's fighting me for a pen. Uh,
Mm.
and it becomes so big and so huge, and then it's gonna be so emotional, and you see, well, this anger is from the past. So is there anger that is it possible where the anger that is felt sometimes doesn't even belong in what is being done in that moment? It's anger from wherever, from the past, from the childhood, from the trauma, from
No, it's very much possible, Macabello, and that's where now one needs to come to that honesty with themselves to accept that there is something that is making them angry. And by the way, anger in itself, it's not a state. Anger is a symptom of something. It shows you,
mm,
it tells you that there is something that is not right. Medically and psychologically, they will tell you that anger is a symptom of a lot of mental sicknesses or mental illnesses. When somebody is depressed, anger can be their symptom to show that they're depressed by something else. Anger
mm,
can be a symptom of somebody who's stressed about anything. Life has got a lot of stresses. When you can't reach to those goals that you want to reach, when you can't meet up certain needs, when you can't make ends meet and all that, you easily
mm,
become stressed. Then anger can be your sign to show that there is something not going right. So, coming back to your question, it's possible that anger, and in most cases, that's what happens. You find that
mm,
somebody is now bursting out of anger towards the fact that you just put on a red t-shirt to this uh, interview, and them it triggers all the issues they have with anything that has to do with red. Maybe they just don't like a political party, they don't like a football team that puts on a red color and all that. So basically what we're saying, anger can be triggered by a lot of things, but only to find out that it's expressed in the moment where it doesn't fit in. That
mm.
all the traumatic or enraging memories that triggers the anger. simply because this person was in a relationship or marriage previously that where they were not being appreciated, and now they're in a new marriage. They don't
Mm,
acknowledge that they've got a new partner, a new spouse. Now they start, showing off these elements of anger to this person until even the person realizes, but what did I do wrong here? Even yourself, as the
mm,
receiver of this anger, you're asking yourself, where am I getting it wrong? Only to find out that no, you're actually paying dues, you're paying debts of something that you know nothing about. So it's possible
mm,
that anger can be expressed at the moment where it's on. Hence, we're saying if a feeling, an emotion is there, let it rather be addressed there and there. Choose to express
mm,
or acknowledge or decide to say, this is not worth it. Let me just get over it and then move on. Rather than to bottle it up, now tomorrow we're going to fight over a pen where now it's even compared to, do you know how much I've been spending in this house on all? You ask yourself, a pen versus what is being said. Yeah, actually, I found you in the street, you were nothing, and I molded you to be. Are we still talking about the pen here?
mm. Yeah, no,
So,
I hear you. Is there a
yeah,
connection between, I'm trying to be politically correct here. Is there a connection between anger and depression?
there is a connection. I think that's what I said. Depression is a state, anger is a symptom. So, when one is depressed, just the word itself, depressed by
Mm,
something. Now, they are no longer in control of their emotions. They are no longer in control of their feelings. They easily get annoyed. Going back now, I'm a facilitator, you will understand. Going back to the definition of anger that I gave to say it's an annoyance, a great annoyance, it's a great
mm,
displeasure. So when I am depressed, I lose control of my emotions and feelings. Now, something else can come and just easily spark that emotion and feeling of anger simply because I am no longer in control. So there is a direct relation between depression and anger. There is also a direct relationship between stress and anger. There is a direct relationship between fatigue and anger because when you are exhausted physically and somebody comes
mhm.
and they're needing your attention over something that you believe it's something small, and already
Yeah.
when I about that the budget in the department is not being met, there's just a lot of deadlines and all that. Somebody comes and say, can you just take a walk to the park? Guess what? You might not easily switch off from that thought, that state where you are in, and address
Mm,
this person in a loving manner. You might find yourself just snapping and you're like, oh, what did I just do? What did I just say?
mm,
Because there is
mm.
a relationship. Depression, stress, fatigue, they have got a direct relationship with anger because it's a
Mental
symptom,
health.
it's a sign to show that something is not right. Mentally,
Mm.
something is not right.
When is anger not a problem?
Hmm. When is anger not a problem?
When is it a problem and when is it not a problem?
It's anger is not a problem because it's when it's just a feeling that comes and you are able to express it.
To
That's
express
not a
it respectfully. Yeah. Mm,
Why? Because we are human beings. We've got different interests, we've got different opinions, we've got different views. So your views about something else can easily make me feel annoyed. But if I am
mm,
able to say to you, I know this thing that you're saying, no, it doesn't sit well with me. Maybe tomorrow you might decide not to say it in my presence and rather say it when there's someone else, or find a better way of saying it. So
mm,
instead, rather than to annoy me. So anger, it's I would say it is good where it provokes an element of you knowing the other person. How would you
mm,
know that 1, 2, 3, 4 doesn't sit well with me until you do it or say it, and then I respond to it to say, look, man, Makabel, I don't like it whenever you call me this and this. I don't like it when you do 1, 2, 3, 4. So that anger at that point, I would say it has been constructive. It helped you to know something about me that you didn't know, right? Now
mm,
it becomes unuseful and bad when when that feeling comes, I buckle it up and then I keep it up. It's like I'm putting files and files. Come the day where I feel like you have reached the climax, and I come back and say, look, you started on this day, I kept quiet.
mm,
You came on such a date. There are people who are good with that. They even keep the
mm.
date, they even
A
keep the
record. Yeah.
to say it was this time exactly, and you did this, I kept quiet. Why did you keep quiet? Were you expecting me to know and understand how you are feeling? No. I can only know and understand when you express it, to say, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, when you do it, I don't like it. Of course, it will come back to the element we spoke about earlier, the issue of emotional maturity. When one is
Mm,
mature enough, then you will find anger to be, constructive and very positive, and so much that you need to be true to yourself. If it's an environment that makes you angry, you need to decide, why do you go there? If the environment makes you angry, do away with the
yeah.
environment. Yeah.
You know what's funny as well is that in the corporate, somehow we don't get angry. We get angry, they make us angry, but we handle it in such a way that you're still respectful to the others. You deal with it, Mara, in a respectful way. You call out a meeting, you do this and this. What I find is that at home, anger becomes something else. We don't handle it the same. You don't contain it. You don't come down until you don't wait until you come to address it.
Mm.
At work, we express it differently because we know and we are mindful that we need to be aware of other people's feelings. We need to know protocol. But at home, why is it that it becomes so different? The way that I handle my frustrations at work versus how I handle them at home. Why is it that I can control myself at work more and not so much at home?
I think for me, I would say personally, it comes to a point where one realizes and acknowledges that in the workplace, I think it's always about, I've got something to lose if I don't deal with my emotions the right way.
Yeah.
Because if I lash out to my boss, basically that will be called either insubordination, or as we normally call it in the street, it's a career limiting statement, right? But the very same can be taken back to the home environment. If I lash out to my wife, that is a marriage ending statement. It can be a marriage ending statement. It
Yeah,
can be
your
a
reputation is on the line here as well.
exactly. And it's unfortunate that people don't find that balance to say, the person I am at home really basically needs to be the same person I am at work. And it's
Mm.
unfortunate. You gave a very good example. And this is where some people would even ask themselves, but how is it that this person looks so um, uh, 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 professional when they're at the workplace? Why? Because there are rules that are set at the workplace. But the question is, what stops us from putting rules also in the home environment, so that we
Mm.
know that when you're angry in this house, this is how you
This
address
is
it?
how we deal with it. Mm.
And it comes back to that. We need to go back to the basics to say, look, and not forgetting that we are different individuals. Some, we might be coming from homes where when we are angry, we will not allow that opportunity to express ourselves, versus now my partner who's coming from a vocal family where she would easily
Mm.
express themselves. But it helps us to, as time goes and we know each other, I start realizing that, oh, by the way, when she's angry, this is what she does. When I'm angry, this is what I do, and this is how we learn. Because at the end of the day, if it's a relationship, it's all about compromising, coming to a point of compromise to say, yes, you've got your uniqueness, I've got my uniqueness, but for us to can work together, we need to come to this point of compromise. So in the workplace, we're guided by the rules, because you always think,
Mm.
I've got so much to lose, because it's your job, it has got money involved, but do you
And
even
we respect those rules.
those very
We
same rules
respect
will
those
apply
rules.
at home? I've got
But
so
at
many.
home, do we
I mean, for
respect
me,
them?
if you were to give me the choice to choose between these two, I would definitely tell you, look, I'd rather lose a job, which I know that anyway, at some point in life, it might come to an end, because a job is all about what I'm doing to serve a specific need. So that need might not be relevant tomorrow. But this person that I wake up next to every morning will remain here. So I'd rather make sure that this relationship and this environment here in my space, it's in a good state. I don't want to be doing
Yeah.
damage control here. I rather do damage control there, because there are rules. That's why we are called in into a meeting, a disciplinary hearing, to say, guys, you didn't deal with this well, blah, 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 done. But here in the home environment, it should be that free environment where even expressing our emotions and feelings, and with that trust that this person that I'm expressing my feelings and emotions to, they will protect me. They will not go and expose me out there. Instead, they will
Mm.
protect me to say, this is my person, this is my parent, this is my child. it is in the home environment. This is the most protective space we are supposed to be in.
Mm. How do we know when we have anger issues? Because it's all good and well to be angry as a human being, but when I live to who are constantly now angry, how do I know I have anger issues? How do I know?
So like I said, Makabela, anger, it's not a state, guys. And let's try to shy away from that. Anger, it's not a state. That's why I find it difficult when somebody says, no, anger management problems. And I try to understand, what do they mean? For me, when somebody is constantly angry, constantly lashing out,
And
and
you're
doing
quick to get angry.
exactly, for me, it tells me something it's not right in their personal space. And maybe because as a professional life coach, that's what I am trained to do, to look at things beyond the mask, like we are saying,
Mm.
unmasking this anger from men. It's let's look beyond this pretense that you're giving. There's something underlying. Anger is
Like
just
what? So, like what could be
so so
underlying?
so things that could be underlying, it's issues of depression, like we said, stress and fatigue, and of which it's unfortunate that these are things that most people don't know when they're fatigued. They don't know when they're
Mm.
depressed. They don't know when they are stressed. Because all about this thing is that the moment you have a lot of emotions that you are keeping to yourself, and now coming
Mm.
back, maybe let me be relevant and talk to men. By nature, men, we are brought up, and even to some certain extent in the religious space, also in the corporate space, we are made to believe that we are just naturally competitors. We want to compete. We are always wanting to be ahead of the other, you know. And the moment I realize that other seems to be way ahead of me, already that can create stress to say, okay, does it still make me to be man enough if I am not meeting up to these standards, which I don't even know who created them? I don't even know
Mm.
why those standards are there, but I just want to prove a point. I'm a man enough. I'm the one who does 1, 2, 3, 4 at home. Nothing that my wife contributes to. I'm only the one who's carrying the whole weight of the family. And not realizing that, in fact, that is the biggest danger of you carrying the entire weight by yourself. You're only human. You're going to get tired. Sometimes the weight that you're carrying, it will overpower you one day. And if you crumble down and you are the only one, the only pillar that was standing, what will happen to the family setup? Tomorrow we want to be pointing fingers and say, because this gentleman is no longer having a job, the wife now disappeared. No, it means that she was
Mm.
only there for the money. No, it's simply because you created a perception that you are superior. You can hold this
Mm.
together by yourself. By the way, if that is the approach, do you really need someone in your life if you can carry out things by yourself? Why do you need
Mm.
any other person in your space? So it's very much important to understand that anger in itself, it's not a state, it's just a symptom. You need to do your own introspection to say, what are the things that I find myself overthinking about? If I
Mm.
What is the thing that constantly hit my mind? Why am I worried? What actually is worrying me? And deal with it. And it's unfortunate that in our community, again, we wait for us to go and consult a psychologist, we wait and go and consult a life coach when things are bad. We don't want to
Yeah.
do these consultations just to say, look, like a medical checkup, where you go and say, check my high blood, check my sugar level, am I still fine, and all that. Mental well-being also needs to go and be checked. Just go there and say, look, I just want to check if everything is fine with me. I hardly
Just check
sleep.
if I get Salina.
Exactly. You don't wait for someone to say, no, ukare no, diabo follower. You know yourself. Be true to yourself and go there and say, guys, man, when I go to sleep, I constantly have patterns of this kind of a dream. No, we are not saying we are consulting in a sangoma. No, I'm not pushing you there. I'm saying, if there is one thing that is constantly on your mind and it seems to worry you, it gives you heart palpitations, it makes you sweat sometimes on your own, you need to realize that this might be an area of worry in my life that needs to be addressed right now, because that could lead to you being angry. That can lead to you being depressed and stressed. And this is directly
Mm.
to men. When you're not meeting up certain things, so first ask yourself, is it really worth it me driving the latest wheels? If I'm not driving them, does it make me less of a man? And some people, they feel
Mm.
overwhelmed by their social status, to say, if I don't live in such a suburb, people might feel, and now you go and unnecessarily tie yourself up in debt and a whole lot of things. Some, they resort to crime because they want to get that quick riches and all those kind of things. Is it really worth it? And it comes back to you being true to yourself, to say, I'm a human being. Whatever I'm able to achieve right now, it's enough for now. It does not mean I will end here. I'm just in a process.
Yeah. Also, you know what I picked up as well personally, is that there are things, like it's same things that are always making you angry. Kintwe wine, more or less, it's the same feeling, Like for me, when I feel I'm being maybe ignored, when I feel dismissed, when I feel, so it's always the same type of behavior that angers me, or it's always the same trigger that angers me. And I suppose that's where we can all start as well, to say, what is it that easily angers you every time? And it's the same thing that always angers you. Is it when a person doesn't pick up their phone? Is it when a person is not reliable? Is it when a person, like, what is it? And ask yourself, where does this come from? And for
Yeah.
me, seeing that I was dismissed and ignored in relationships made
Mm.
me angry. And when I look back and think, where does this come from? I grew up in an environment where you were almost left to fend for yourself and grow up, basically, as much as
Yeah.
there were parents there, for whatever circumstances and whatever reasons.
Yeah.
And so you've got these feelings of being abandoned as a child that
Yes.
you now carry into relationships. So now I feel abandoned by a man who does not pay attention to me. And as
Yeah.
a result, I get angry. I would get angry to a point where I'd send a message and say, da, da, and I think it's up to us to own up to what is it that always angers me, and be curious
Yeah.
enough to ask yourself questions. What is it that always angers me, and where does it come from? We have
And
a comment here from, so I'll come back to you just now. We have a comment from Khunu who says, what do you do when you pick up those issues? What's the best way to approach? So you pick up that this person has anger issues. What's the best way to approach that?
so basically in life, Macabelo, there are certain things that you can do for someone. There are certain things you cannot do for them. Now, when you pick up those things, you can rather suggest that they get help, but you cannot get the help for them unless they come to that acknowledgement, to acknowledge that indeed there is a problem. And that's where, even with life coaching, we would say, if someone comes and say, I want you to assist my husband, I would ask you, where is your husband? Because you having the desire to see them well, it's good and it's very natural and human about you. Thank you for doing that. But is the person even aware that they are in this space? By the way,
Mm,
what is it that is bringing them to this? And also with anger, from what you said, we need to come to that point when you realize that what are the things that normally angers you, you need to also
mm,
be true to yourself. Is it the things that they do or say that angers you, or
mm,
is it the person themselves that angers you? You might be able to separate the two. Are you angry at the person or what they've done?
mm,
Are we able to separate the two? If it's the person, the question would be, if the same thing was done by a different person, would you accept it?
mm,
And then you start realizing, no, maybe I'm the one. So it's basically taking yourself and putting yourself in front of the mirror and asking
mm,
yourself to say, where is this thing really coming from? So Nkgono, I would say, if you want to assist a person, rather suggest for them to get help. And you really need to find a better way of saying it to them. Don't say it to them when they are angry and say, you need to go and get help, when they are not going to accept it. Maybe find a moment when they are at their best, they are happy, and say, hey, I think we if it's a couple thing, say, I think we need to go to this kind of a classes. Indirectly, you know that they are going to get some kind of a help, let
yeah.
it be addressed. And also, if you know that they've got other people that they look up to, that they easily talk to, rather go to that person who they normally have conversations with and say, look, man, I think this person has got this, but please, of course, it will need that element of, confidentiality. Don't say that I'm the one who came and told you that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 happen. If that person also has got the interest of finding your person to be in a good space, they will address it in the right way. But of course,
Mhm.
naturally, would say rather go to a professional and have them assisting you on that regard.
Yeah, but also maybe point out as well. I've appreciated people who've pointed out my issues without being mean. Point out to I've noticed that you always get angry when I disappoint you in this way. Is
Mm.
there a reason for that?
Yeah,
You know, obviously, like point it out, but point it out in such a way that it makes it a meaningful suggestion, or point it
mm,
out and say, look, I've noticed that when I do this, or when people do this and this, it
yeah,
always triggers you and you feel angry, and
yeah,
you result in beating, or you result in this and this. Is there a reason for that? Like, maybe also, what, another important thing as well is to really get into people's past, and not just the past,
yeah,
but past, how did
yeah.
you grow up? We get
Thank,
married to people, we don't even know their past, we don't even, and then the next thing,
yeah,
people who have undealt issues of their childhood are
yeah.
very problematic to relationship with, and I'm taking that as well personally to say I've been very
Mm.
problematic in a lot of my relationships because of my issues that I've not dealt with, so
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
that's my advice there.
no, it's very true what you're saying. I've got that element also on my online relationship coaching course. I call it, it's an acronym, it's called FACES. It's the F, letter F, it talks about family background. To say when you are entering into a relationship, it's crucial, it's critical for you to know the family background of the person. Not to say, oh, you want to check how wealthy were they, so does it mean you're going to be wealthy with this person? No, just the basics.
Mm,
What is their source
mm,
of spirituality? Don't be surprised when you are in marriage with this person and when the popo hit the fence, maybe in their background, family wise, they believe in sacrificing one of the family members. It sounds crazy when I'm saying it, but you will be surprised when you're in a relationship
mm,
and things go wayward and this person says, look, no, how I was brought up is that for us to get rid of these problems that we have, we just need each one of us to sacrifice our right hand. And you're like,
mm,
what? So it's very critical for you to know those elements. So the A there, it will be the attitude. You need also to know the attitude of their past. How do they normally deal with things? How do they
mm,
handle people that they don't need in their life?
mm,
Just general attitude towards life. Is it a positive attitude? Do they easily give up, or do they try and try until they get it right? The C is the issue of compatibility. It's the compatibility. It's either on the outward, and which is not the one that we normally look at, but the most internal compatibility. This person, how do they do things? The
mm,
Are they having dreams and goals that I feel that I can easily tap into? Are they dreaming to work in the UK while you are dreaming to work in South Africa your entire life? What does that mean to our relationship going forward? And then also the
mm,
E there, it will be the experiences. Get to understand how they dealt with their past experiences in terms of relationships. Not to say like you rightfully said, but if they had relationships that ended, what was the most common thing? No, no, but people say no, una little or every now and then,
mm,
all the relationships that they ended, there was an element of abuse. Don't think that this person just overnight they would have changed. Chances are
mm,
you might be heading to be part of the statistics. So, and don't
mm,
ignore the signs that will be around you. And then the S, it will talk of the skills. What skills do they have in terms of, remember, we are now in this relationship. It's not only the feelings that will help us to be sustained. There are certain things that we need to do to earn a living. What skills do they
mm,
have? How do their skills also relate to yours? Which skills can we incorporate and have one thing that we're running together and all those kind of things? So I wanted to come to that part of the family background to say it's very critical. You might find that you
mm,
are dealing with a person that they've got issues that not even you can help them to deal with except
mm,
themselves. They need to go
mm,
back and forgive their mother. They need to go back and forgive their father. They need to go back and have a good relationship with their sisters because these are their siblings. If this person can hardly go a year without talking to their own blood sister, who are
mm,
you as a stranger, to expect them to easily call you when they're at work and check up on you? The traits are there. The signs are there to say this is a person who hardly, check up on others. And if you
mm,
know, maybe you can also be in a good space to say, oh, okay, I'm just overworking myself. This is just the character that this person is. So I think also
mm.
we somehow managed to cover another question or a comment that was there under Khonos.
Yeah, Tabelo, yeah, no, we've covered that one. It's the same question, more or less, to say, how do we help someone who has, which is what you've addressed as well.
Now,
So
we covered that one as well.
Yeah. So for me, as a man, if I identify, if after this session that we've had, or after viewing this, I see that I have anger issues, I've
Mm,
been an abuser, I've been, what do I do? What's next for me? Like I see, even though I'm not in a position to admit it to other people, but I see, why is it king? I always beat up people when I
mm.
feel they're not giving me attention, or when I feel dismissed, or when I feel powerless. What is a man to do in that position now, who's saying I might potentially be an abuser or I am an abuser?
The truth of the matter is, it's always comfortable to hold a mirror to yourself and see a pimple and deal with it, as compared to when someone comes to you and say, yo, Makavelo, there's this pimple on your nose. Yo, it's so disgusting. It can be the truth coming from someone, but because now it's from the outside in, number one, it makes you uncomfortable. It makes you very cautious tomorrow when you walk out of the house, because now you feel like, yo, who will be looking at what on my face and not feel comfortable? So what I'm trying to say is, it's always nice when you as a man decide to stand and ask yourself these questions before someone comes and pinpoint. Ask
Mm,
yourself. And yes, if asking yourself is not helping, ask the people around you that you trust and say, would you say I am okay with my anger? Am I a person who just out of the blue, bursts out of anger, or am I okay? Would you say there are certain things that you'd want me to change? Not
describe
because
me
you're the
when
one who
I'm
started.
angry.
Let it be you who starts it
Mm,
and say, Bona Mohaja, come on, am I on the right path? Am I okay? Is everything fine? Do you
mm,
want me to change here and there? And what is it that I can tweak, and all that? You need to take it upon yourself, because when it's someone, like I said, it makes you feel uncomfortable. And instead of dealing with it, rather, you might even switch on to the other part, which is of being defensive, which is the passive aggression, where people hardly say, yeah, but okay.
mm,
Even your response is telling us that you are confirming that you are actually angry. And now it's unfortunate,
mm,
already when you're angry, we can't even now communicate, soberly, so to say, but what exactly is making you angry? So take it
mm,
up yourself. And always, from a life coach point of view, we say the very same way you would want to be treated, let it be the way you treat others.
mm.
Ask yourself, if you're angry and you're not doing self-introspection, how would you feel if the other person is not doing self-introspection and they affect you? So it's always that element that in life we need to always be asking ourselves those questions.
Yeah, and here's an exercise for everyone else who's gonna watch this. For me, go to the three people that you trust the most and ask them to describe you when you're angry. And don't fight that. Don't try and analyze it over. Don't try and make excuses. Just ask people that you really trust by three and say, please describe me when I'm angry, and see if you like yourself then. Tshilidzi, thank you so much for this. Before I let you go, we ran out of time. Where can people find you?
So yeah, on social
How,
media,
how do they get in contact with your services?
yeah, no, so on social media, it's Tshilidzi Radali. That's my personal page. And then also Tshilidzi, the coach, Radali, it's my coaching page, also on Facebook. And on Instagram, it's at coach underscore TC underscore Radali. And you can also call me directly if there are pressing issues, or just drop a WhatsApp or text on 073 my email address is chilidzi at trthecoach.co.za. I will also flag them on my Facebook pages there. You'll find them. And yeah, sometimes if you are in contact with my lovely wife, who's also been commenting there, Tabero, you can, if you're friends with her, communicate
I'm
with
thinking,
her.
why if you keep
Very
family
supportive,
distance.
very supportive wife.
Please
No,
work
we do. Yes, yes, yeah, no, no, it shows that it's a family thing.
No,
She's
I
also
love
a
it.
life coach, by the way, very qualified life
Uh,
coach. So yeah, if there are other issues, because sometimes some clients would feel comfortable to talk to me as the man, or you want to talk to her as the woman. So you have got that privilege to can choose, who would you
best of
want to.
both.
Yeah. So yeah,
Okay.
that's me. And yeah, I'm working on revamping my website. making sure that
Okay.
I can shade as well so that it will be easier for people to communicate. And other than that, on social media, I'm very active. You can always get into contact with me. And yeah, hopefully, maybe also those who wish to become life coaches, we can bump into each other through the Subconscious Frequency Academy with Tabiso Mailula. And yeah, so that's basically I'm very easy to can get.
Okay, please inbox me those details. I'll share them on my timeline for those who didn't get them. Thank you so much for making time. I really appreciate it. I think I'm gonna have you back again, but to talk on
Yeah,
a different issue. I really enjoyed this, and I hope the viewers did as well. Thank you so much. Enjoy
uh,
the rest of your afternoon, and
thanks a
everyone
lot.
else who was watching. Bye.
All right.